بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على خير خلق رب العالمين سيدنا وعظيمنا وحبيب قلوبنا وشفيع نفوسنا أبي القاسم محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين. Assalamu alaikum, dear brothers and sisters, to episode 1 of Tafakkur Podcast, a platform for discussion focusing on key challenges and opportunities facing Muslim youth in the West. My name is Hussain Al-Mutawakil, and I look forward to guiding you through this conversation tonight with our esteemed brothers. We hope that this discussion will contribute some useful insight into practical issues facing our community, specifically our youth. First and foremost, it is my honor to introduce our chief architect, Sheikh Mustafa Akhound. Assalamu alaikum, Sheikhna.
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. It's an honor.
Sheikh Mustafa. Sheikh Mustafa was born in Isfahan, Iran, to a well-known family that dedicated their lives to serving Islam and our communities. Sheikh Mustafa studied many years between Najaf and Qum. He also earned a religious studies degree from George Mason University. Of course, Sheikh Mustafa is the resident scholar at Imam Ali Center in Springfield, Virginia. He has immigrated to the U.S. At the ripe age of 14.
Definitely.
So he has lived the full experience to be able to tell us what it's like to be a youth in the West and to go through those challenges, alhamdulillah. Many, of course, in our community, but maybe online don't know that Sheikh is also a very talented soccer player on the pitch.
Trying.
MashaAllah.
Trying,
MashaAllah. And of course, we have our esteemed brother, Ali.
Alaikum assalam.
Wa alaikum assalam, bro. How are you?
I'm good,
Good to
alhamdulillah.
be with you as
Honored
well.
to be here.
Ali Faizi, Ali Naqi Faizi?
Yes, Ali Naqi
MashaAllah.
Faizi.
Ali Naqi Faizi is an African-American pre-med student, inshallah, on his way to become a doctor.
Inshallah.
At George Mason University as well. That actually makes all three of us George
Alhamdulillah.
Mason University, inshallah, alumni. One day,
Inshallah. One day.
Ali's also a humble chef.
Working on it, yeah.
What's your best dish that you make?
Best dish.
Putting you on the spot. You weren't ready for this one.
Anything simple. I like Italian cuisine, so anything with pasta and sauces.
Italian, okay.
Pretty simple.
Mashallah.
Quality
We're
in the
gonna hold you
ingredients.
to that,
Inshallah.
inshallah.
So after the episode, we're going to have Italian cuisine for the whole crew and the hosts, inshallah.
Inshallah.
I recently went to Italy, so I have very high standards.
Oh, high standards, yeah.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Pasta al limone. I'm going to be asking for this soon, inshallah. Tonight's discussion will focus on the positive contributions of marriage and its purpose as a sacred institution in Islam, inshallah. But before we get into this discussion, we want to open with a very beautiful narration from Imam Ali to one of his greatest companions, Kumail ibn Ziyad, in which Imam Ali says, يا كميل ما من حركة إلا وأنت محتاج فيها إلى معرفة. English translation, rough one. This is my translation, so forgive any shortcomings. Kumail, there is no movement in life you can make except that you need knowledge of it or understanding of it, for lack of better terms. Feel this is a fantastic hadith that can serve as a basis for tonight's discussion, which will be on basics of marriage, but also for all future discussions for guidance for Muslims in the West. Sheikhna, there's always apparent meanings and hidden meanings. For this hadith, can you illuminate some of its apparent meanings, some of its obvious meanings, and some things that may be a little bit below the surface?
Inshallah. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Imam Ali alayhi salam, through this narration, is giving us a very, very important key that will enlighten our path to what we are about to do, whatever it is, be it in our careers, be it in our education, establishing a marital life, having children, whatever we want to do, rather than getting into it completely blind and not knowing what we're about to do. Rather, Imam says, Ya Kumail, ma min harakatin. Haraka, any movement that you're about to make. Not necessarily physical. No, any movement in life. Again, you want to start a new business. You want to start a new education. You don't know your major. You want to buy a house. You want to, whatever it is that you want to do in this life, you are in need of knowing about it.
Having a plan.
Doing some homework basically beforehand, rather than getting into it and not knowing what's about to come. Of course, we must be a risk taker. Imam Ali alayhi salam also says that you should be taking risks, but it should be something that is based on some kind of knowledge and education. and some information, rather than, again, me going to a dark room without any information of what is in the room, and I might fall into something. So having this knowledge is very important, and prepares us for what's up to come. That, okay, these are the situation I'm going to face. These are the difficulties I'm going to face. For example, starting a business. If I think, well, everything in this business is going to go well, and I'm not getting ready for all the ups and downs and challenges. When I face a challenge, it's like, oh my God, I wasn't expecting this thing to happen. And I'm going to panic, and maybe I lose my mind and I just move away, basically. Or no, knowing that there are some challenges. Education, well, it's going to have its own challenges. Marriage, the same thing. This is, I think, one, if not the most important movement anyone makes in their life. Establishing a marital life. Be it a sister, be it a brother. I think this is the biggest, I mean, arguably, or we can say one of the biggest, or I think.
Rasulullah alayhi salatu wasalam says half of your deen, marriage?
Yes, protects. By marriage, you protect half of your deen, or another hadith, 2/3 of your deen, it's been protected. So it's a very big move. And unfortunately, we see typically people get into marriage without having any knowledge of what's coming to them. These difficulties. That's why when I do the nikah, I get an invitation to perform the nikah ceremony. After I've done reading the ceremony, I'll tell them, starting tonight, you will have problems. So I'm not going to sugarcoat it for you. Starting tonight, you will have problems. Don't think that, oh, it's going to be all nice and...
Even before the nikah.
I know, before nikah, getting to know one another, getting to know the parents and all the issues that comes before. So it is part of it. So this is part of it, knowledge.
On that thought, if you allow me,
Sure.
where you just mentioned knowledge, because in Arabic it says ma'rifah, so like understanding.
Yes.
What is the difference between knowing something and understanding it? Because I can open up a book, so I could consume knowledge by reading, or I could consume knowledge by reading and reflecting and looking inside, and then having some sort of yaqeen in what I'm doing.
True. Well, I mean, it's going into the detail of that information. I'll give you an example, for example. Many of the girls, when they get married, they are going to be expecting to get pregnant. They have the knowledge, they've seen it from their parents, from their mother, from their sisters, from their aunts, that they got pregnant, and they saw what they went through those 9 months. It wasn't something easy. My wife went through 4 of them, and it was very, very difficult. It's very difficult 9-month process. So I tell them, right now, no girl, so you have the knowledge that you will go through, hell in this 9 months. But when you go through it, that knowledge comes to existence in you that, okay, I have to be patient with it. This is what I need to do. This is called ma'rifah. It's called next step, that I'm not going to, oh, what is this? Why I got into this situation? What is this pain? I cannot sleep on my back. I have to be careful how we turn when they're sleeping, if they're sleeping on their right. They cannot just shift. They have to sit, shift, and then go on the left. So it's a very difficult 9 months. So this comes ma'rifah. A lot of us, unfortunately, in this time, we have the knowledge. There's a lot of information out there. But how much of that we literally let it sink in, and we are preparing ourselves what we are dealing with.
You said it beautifully. Sorry to cut you off. Knowledge into existence.
Yes.
So basically the application and the context of knowing what to do and how this knowledge applies.
Of course.
Definitely experience, I think, comes into a play with that.
That becomes ma'rifah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Inshallah. So then, tying this into our topic for tonight, we mentioned online resources we have to gaining knowledge. What is that healthy balance between trying to find out as much information as possible about, let's say, spouse selection? With social media and the internet these days, you can know as much as you can about anybody. It sometimes gets obsessive, where you might find out a little bit too much. Maybe too much information is not good information.
Yeah.
So what's a healthy balance between that doing your due diligence, or obsessing over knowing everything about your potential spouse, versus also looking within and searching within your gut feeling, maybe doing istikhara, that type of knowledge?
I think religion of Islam, as we all believe to be the most complete religion, detail-oriented religion that you can find. There is no detail-oriented religion like religion of Islam, Madhab of Ahlulbayt specifically. Islam has given us the guideline of when should you really go in the detail of something and when you should just do tawakkul ala Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the guidelines are set, and this ma'rifah, inshallah, information that we will talk about in this episode and many episodes to come, it's all backed by teachings of Quran and Ahlulbayt alayhim salam. Where Rasulullah, as we know within the famous hadith of Ghadir, he said, "Inni tarikum fikum al-thaqalain, kitab Allah wa itrati Ahl Bayti." So if we hold on to them both, we won't go astray. In what? In aqeedah, in belief, in religion, in practice, in family, in establishing a family, in marriage, in everything we won't go astray if we follow the criterias and the guidelines that Quran and Ahlul Bayt have placed for us.
SubhanAllah, almost every discussion always goes back to taqalain, right?
Oh, definitely.
And everything, like existing is almost like knowing. So how can you know without a thaqalain?
And we see all the astray that we've been as a community, Shia Muslim community and at large humanity, is due to deviation from Quran and Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam.
No.
Definitely.
Ahsant. So let's get into some of the benefits, like the whys behind why I should get married. I mean, today there's so much going on, especially in the West for the youth, that you'll even talk to some youth and they'll see more negatives with getting into marriage. Obviously, that's because of life circumstances, what they've experienced themselves in marriage. But of course, the Quran also talks very beautifully about the benefits of marriage, emotional benefits, spiritual benefits. Can we expand a little bit more about that? And maybe in your experience, you said you have, mashallah, 4 children.
Alhamdulillah.
Married, unlike some of us.
Alhamdulillah.
What were some of the personal benefits that you experienced from marriage, and do those correspond with the wa'd of Allah, the promise of God in the Quran, and what He promises us through marriage?
Of course. Before answering your question, I think it's important for us to know how do we get to this ma'rifah. There are these 2 main questions that we have to ask before every action that gets us the ma'rifah. How and why? How should I do what I'm about to do, and why I should do it? Without having these 2 questions answered, we get into something and we don't know why we came into this. We don't know the purpose of this. In the middle, it's going to have its own difficulties, whatever it is that we're about to do. Since I don't have a strong why, a lot of people will do what? Give up. But if they have a strong why in it, and before it, and after it, they will keep reminding themselves, this is why I'm doing this. And I have to go through all of these difficulties because of this why.
But, I mean, you could still have do you think there are instances where people have a strong why, but the wrong how?
Or even if they have a wrong why also.
Yeah.
Of course. I mean, definitely that we will come into the wrong why getting married. That, inshallah, we will cover in this episode. Wrong why and wrong how, both will get us into.
And then when they're getting with that ma'rifah, like, do you think what do you think they should be going for? Like ma'rifah of what aspects of, like, maybe the person, the situation that they're in,
or maybe the institution itself, ma'rifah of what marriage is.
Why getting married? I think that's the first question that they should get. Why should we get married? And which
does the Quran tell us why we should get married?
Well, there is the verse of the Holy Quran that Allah says that I created for you a spouse from yourselves, that you find peace and tranquility.
And we created you in pairs.
We created you in pairs. So it is that peace, it is that establishment, it is that sukoon, which will need its own series of episodes. What does that sukoon mean? That tranquility, that peace. How do women find that peace? How do men find that peace? Because we're completely 2 different beings. But we think that, okay, if I find peace this way, she should be fine this way. And then it's going to get conflict. So these are the stuff that we have to get into it. So definitely why and how is important. With me, when I was 17, I told my father I want to get married.
MashaAllah.
And
MashaAllah. I thought I married young. Yeah.
would hope for. How old were you?
I was 22.
22.
I mean, young in the American world. This is Muslim in the West.
For American standards, that's
American.
young, yeah.
I impressed
Yeah,
them. I
22
impressed
for
the
American
Americans.
standards.
Pretty much.
Inshallah.
Yeah,
we
but
hope-
back home, that's a
I know this kind
that's
of
average numbers.
it's getting average toward getting
Yeah.
late. Yeah. So no, I told him.
Hurry up.
I know, I Naqi.
I'm working on it.
Hurry up and good luck.
This is good. You know, like this is a applicable conversation
No pressure.
for myself. Yeah.
Just hurry up.
So you should pay us at least something. Me and Brother Hussain with your
Podcast or consultation.
So I told him, and it took us 2 years. And I always tell the youth, don't think that when you want to get married, there are girls lining up outside waiting by the door. Okay, I'm about to get married. Let me open the door, and here it is. No, it's going to take time.
Of course.
It's going to take time with families, and there's a lot of scenarios that will come into play. So earlier you start, it's going to be better. And alhamdulillah, I was blessed to marry my wife at age 19, and we've been together almost 21 years.
MashaAllah.
There's been a lot of ups and downs, a lot of difficulties and challenges. But with all of its problems, starting from the beginning, which I know was part
You
of
grew
life.
together.
Definitely. I still wish that I would have got married at 17.
I think that's one of the best aspects of it. When you get married, when you grow,
Oh,
literally
definitely.
together.
Oh,
It could be. I think it could also, if you're not mature enough, if you were raised in an environment where you only saw bad role models, then maybe
True.
you need to unlearn all of that.
Very true.
Very
So
circumstantial.
it will be easier to unlearn when you are younger than when you're
100%.
Yeah, just like how
unlearn.
they're saying, like
That's
you
true.
can't teach an old dog new tricks.
There you
Yeah.
go. There you go. So if you're 19, you have only 19 years of unlearning to do, or unless when you're at 30, you have 30 years of
Or
unlearning.
even then, when you're older, like more of your life is situated, more of it is set in stone.
Yeah, you established.
Yeah, like
And right
so
now,
when you're posed with that situation where you have to like change, you're like
it becomes very difficult.
yeah.
It becomes very difficult. Transferring from this I, mine,
To me,
to
to
ours,
me.
and
Mm.
it's going to be very difficult.
Most people, when they get, I feel like, I don't want to speak for most people, but I feel like some people, when they get married, speaking for myself here, is sometimes you don't realize that there's going to be a we, and then an hour, and then
A lot of that.
levels to that. Once you start having children, you
Oh,
lose.
definitely.
I don't want to say you lose your time, but now you have to prioritize and share your time.
Definitely.
And share your all other resources. other
And
than
Islam
time.
has taught us, like, that's the beauty of the teachings of Ahlulbayt alayhim salam and Quran. All these little details are there. Like, literally, Ahlulbayt and Quran, they take our hand, like parents when they take their kid's hand when they're about to walk. Okay, hold here. One step. They literally walk us through what we need to do in life to have a prosperous life. But I go somewhere else and I try to do something else. Then I get to a problem. Okay, let's see what Islam says. If there is such dua to resolve my issues. Well, prevention before cure.
Sure.
I think so. I think it's, since we said why, it is important for us to go to wrong whys to have and wrong motives.
Let's get into
have.
that. Like niyyah, like the niyyahs you shouldn't have
Yes.
when getting married. This is probably not the best source to mention, and this probably doesn't really reflect our audience, but doing some research on Forbes, it's a very small research they did of 1,000 people. Of course, the research data is going to kind of project the people that read Forbes, but you know their number one why? 63%, or maybe 43%? Financial stability.
Really?
So seeking marriage for financial stability.
Like
So
directly?
that's obviously, this is not reflective of the Islamic community in the West, but this is just general Forbes readers, 1,000 sort of research. So it's not a whole scholarly study, but it is a study by Forbes Advisor online. It's available for everybody.
63%.
Either 63 or
kind of
40, but
funny.
it was the number one reason, number one motive for getting married. I mean, dual income, no kids is a big thing in American society. There's even an acronym for it. I don't know what the acronym is, but idea
It's
is
even become
let's
kind
get
of like
married.
a standard now,
Right?
Like you
No
can't-
kids,
yeah.
dual income, no kids. So it's really purely, why no kids? Because they hurt the dual income.
Yeah.
So it's purely financial where we live.
Unfortunately. And see, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Holy Quran that get married in kanu fuqara yughnihim Allah min fadlih. If they are poor, Allah will
Provide.
provide from His abundance. But we don't see it. Or we have hadith of Rasulullah that if you marry someone because of their wealth, Allah will say, okay, go ahead and see what's going to happen to you and that wealth that's
He's going to test you via wealth.
definitely. So I think that's number one, that we should not have the intention and motives behind our marriage. Why are you getting married? Well, I'm going to be having more money, more wealth, and that is something wrong. Second that I have listed, and it's not limited to this, you guys can add also beauty.
Beauty fades.
Yeah. A brother sees a nice, beautiful sister. Well, I want to get married.
Desire.
Yeah, desires. Or a girl sees a
Young
handsome,
man.
six-pack, muscled brother. Okay, this is who I want. This is it. I want to get married. Like, they didn't have any intention of getting married until they saw this person, and that won't last. I always tell our youth, no matter how handsome or beautiful is your spouse, after 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, give it 1 year, they become normal person. It's just normal person that you have to deal with it. So it's not that, I'm not saying to go and marry someone who you are not attracted at all. No, attraction and beauty is something there, no doubt. But that should not be the motive that I got married to.
Primary purpose. You want to marry someone beautiful, but
course.
that's not
Yeah,
the driving
you
reason.
should definitely have like a standard that you're okay with. Not
it's
saying that it should be
relative.
high. Yeah, it should be relative.
Of course, it's
you shouldn't-
relative.
You shouldn't like be like, oh, I want to marry a supermodel, and that's
Yeah.
it. I'm not gonna accept anything less than that.
True.
But like obviously like looks and beauty fades, and even I don't know if you guys have experienced this, but like when you meet new people, right? As you get to know them, that idea of their allure like tends to decrease, you know, because like this, when there's gray area, you assume the best things, and like, you know, like you might not know that this guy, like, you know, maybe he leaves the lights on in a room or something,
True.
never closes there, like leaves this around the house, and
I
then
know.
as you live with him and you're married to him, like, you know, for the next
get to
few
know.
years, yeah, like you get to know him deeper, and like this idea of the perfect man kinda fades away.
And the perfect
And
one,
he-
both
yeah.
of them.
Like
True.
it definitely
I think
fades.
that's the idea of novelty. We're always
Yeah.
attracted to what's new. You
What's
know,
new,
what's new
what's
and shiny.
unknown,
Yeah.
And then
possibilities. you
True.
know.
third will be position within the society. For example, I'm married to a
Status.
doctor, I'm married to a lawyer, or someone, my husband or my wife is such and such. My spouse has that kind of status within the community. And I can carry that everywhere I go. So it's the wrong motives to have.
What if I want to be married to a medical professional, regardless of their status in society? Let's say they work at a very in a very low income area. They don't make doctor money, but they're a doctor, and the spouse wanted to marry somebody who, provides medical support and relief.
See, our
What about that?
intention really, really shapes our characteristics and our demeanor. See, Rasulullah Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi has set us a guideline that tells the father of the girl who has the responsibility, and they come and ask the hand of their daughter from their father's hand. Rasulullah said, if a person comes and asks your daughter's hand, you like two things in them. You like their religiosity, deen, and morality, akhlaq. If you like these two in them, then give them the hand of your daughter. Of course, if she agrees also. It's not that they're forced. No. And religiosity, when we come into it, is not only like their salah. And okay, this person prays and this person fasts. This is it. They are religious. Or for example, they're wearing a ring or they have a beard. They look religious. They walk religious. They talk religious. Then they're religious. No. Religion covers every aspect, as we mentioned earlier, in our life. For
Life.
example,
Yeah.
Hadith of Rasulullah said that a mu'min, a believer, is a person who eats what his family desire and yearn, not what he desires and yearns. So this is part of religiosity. If I'm a believer, rather than I tell my wife, okay, this is what I want you to cook and this is what I'm going to eat. You guys like it or not, this is what I want to eat. And everybody must eat like what I eat. No. When my wife says, okay, what do you want to eat? I said, whatever you cook. Whatever you cook is good food. We eat. This is what you like. Okay, what you like. As a believer, religious person, I eat what you like. So religion covers all of these aspects which we haven't talked about it. That we have to.
It covers a lifestyle. It is a lifestyle.
It is a
Complete.
lifestyle.
Complete lifestyle.
Absolutely.
Another wrong motives run away from the parents' house. Maybe someone.
This is big in
Really?
the West, like insane. Like
they're waiting to.
me growing up and like.
Are you trying to run away from your parents' house?
No, no. It's just that like typically what you hear from like the youth is like, sure there are certain parameters that like elicit like this kind of response from like children that want to get married and just move out.
Mm-hmm.
Like I guess you can say like abuse in some instances or other like negative things going on in the home. But like since they're like in a way so indoctrinated by the Western culture of like enjoyment and not thinking things through, not like understanding the why and the how of what they're doing in every facet of their life. And when the parents come over them because they have that why and how through Islam, through that Islamic upbringing, like, you know, back home,
True.
and they say no, like, oh,
Then
I can't do this
leave.
because of my parents, and like
True.
the only place I will be able to do this is if I'm on my own,
True.
and the only way I can get out with them being okay
True.
is getting married.
Unfortunately, wrong intention to have in that case. And you might be surprised that when they get out of the parents' house because of what they wanted to accomplish, when they get to their spouse's house, it's going to get worse.
Yeah, it's gonna get worse.
They
Like,
want to be
You
able
couldn't
to.
figure out the issues in your own home and
There we go.
environment, then
So we should never be having this intention that I'm going to get married so I can run away from my parents because of their restrictions. Well, guess what? In the spouse's life, in marital life, is going to be more restriction than the parents. And you will be like, oh my,
yeah.
I wish I could go back. My parents, at least they were really bit lenient, but in the marital life, it dictates its own style of living. Next, showing mercy. For example, he or she sees someone who is depressed.
bad for somebody.
Feel bad for them. Well, let me get married to them. Don't tell me this is a lot also.
No, not this a lot, but it's like I feel like that's such a like in the end you end up hurting yourself and you're gonna hurt them more
True.
severely
True.
because like if you're having mercy on someone or like you're pitying them, that means like there's certain aspects to them that you don't appreciate necessarily yourself or you don't think is like great and is compatible because like at the end of the day marriage is like, at least to what I know it to be, because I'm not married, but a partnership where you're like you guys are both getting stuff out of it, right?
True.
And if you don't see your
It's a partnership.
yeah, if you don't see your partner as someone who's bringing at least equal to the table, that need, that affection, that worth of that, like I guess relationship is gonna like drop, and you're like,
Actually, let me correct it. I don't think it should be equal. I mean, in some, for example, one day I might benefit from this relationship 80% and my partner, my spouse, 20%.
love the analogy.
Next day, it's going to be, I'm going to get 20
Yeah,
and
yeah.
she's going to get
Yeah,
80.
Equity
relative,
over
yeah.
equality.
There we
yeah,
go.
that's
So-
a better word. Yeah,
Yeah, rather than
Not 50-50. It's impossible.
it's
You'll never
cannot be
get
a
50-50.
it can never
Yeah.
be 50-50.
So we should not do that.
Partnership.
Another wrong motives, this is the sixth one, benefit that one gets with being married. For example, pay raise and or taxes, you will be able to file joint taxes and get some.
That's probably what was in the Forbes article. That's all.
Maybe. So this is a wrong intention to have because, okay,
sure.
I
someone
see
that
this.
can cook for you, someone who could clean for you.
It's going to have its own benefits, or somebody who
Yeah.
looked after you and
Yeah,
who provides.
yeah.
These are the wrong motives to have. Migrating, unfortunately, we do hear some with immigrations,
Need a citizenship.
citizenship, that people overseas, they want to get married or they want to bring someone here. So that is wrong. And we have seen a lot of bad stories about people who got married because of this, and then it wasn't success. Showing off. Well, I'm married, we were all, for example,
yeah.
10 or 15 of us, all boys, for example, we were together, and then I got married early, I'm getting married, and I'm...
There is always that one brother that's like, I'm going to get married before everybody in this room.
Yeah.
It's going to be
Yeah.
me.
And they're like, oh, get married.
And
Like, "Hey, what are you doing? Yeah.
For some reason, usually, I mean, in my experience, it turned out to be true. He
Really?
ended up being the first.
Really?
Yes.
Well, good for him.
Good for him.
Afraid
Still
of
married, by the way.
Put that out
Alhamdulillah.
there.
We pray
Alhamdulillah.
that, inshallah, it
Stay
will
married,
Inshallah.
inshallah.
be lasting long. Afraid of being alone.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, I mean, that makes sense. I mean,
What is
it
wrong?
seems innocent, but it's still, you're not looking for the partner.
No,
You're
no.
looking to...
And being alone, and because it's becoming late. Because, for example, within, again, 10 boys or 10 girls, or for example, everybody started getting married and everybody starting having time with their own partner. Before, they used to go every night, they were out, for example. These boys, they were out, hanging out, halal entertainment. But right now, everybody's married. And this person is, okay, I'm
They
behind.
fill
feel
the
like they
gap.
need to conform.
There you
Yeah.
go. I don't have anything. I mean, I have no one. I'm home, I'm completely bored. Getting to fake freedom relates to the
Yeah.
previous one. That she wants to do something that her father didn't allow her to do. And then she's going, when I get to my husband's house, I can do whatever I want. Well, guess what? It's going to be the opposite. Desires, sexual desires. It's something that, of course, when one gets married, their desire.
It's not a bad thing to have.
It's not, but that shouldn't be the purpose.
That shouldn't be the sole purpose.
Sole purpose.
Yeah.
I mean, that goes also with beauty. I mean, of course,
Extension
it's
of
going
beauty.
to.
Because definitely in this like hypersexualized society, like
True.
you need that halal outlet to like
course.
express your desires and stuff like that.
Of course.
True. But again, that should not be the motives.
Couldn't be
Because
the
all of
sole,
this,
yeah.
it's gonna, it won't last. Being independent. I want to be independent of myself. Again, from that family that I was always dependent, and all the decision was not knowing that when you get married,
You become dependent.
Actually,
So,
that's a
like,
really
yeah,
that's a really good
you
point. You're
become
actually
really
no
dependent.
longer independent once you
are.
enter a marriage,
True.
right? Your
and the
partnership.
dependency should be that the wife should depend on the husband, and the husband should be standing as a firm pillar for her that she can lean on, which unfortunately we see within the society, that they want the woman to be on your own and the man be on your own, but you live together. And I call it this to be very transactional. I do this much, you do this much,
Yeah.
and then we move on.
I like that point. Can I hold you right
Sure,
there?
sure,
And
sure.
So we talked about like the man being the more dependable one for the woman, but when you say like the man should be really more like that pillar where you just lean on, or the man shouldn't be so emotionally dependent
Yes.
on his wife, or physically dependent. Why should a husband not be dependent to his wife the way she is dependent to him?
Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala within the teachings of Holy Quran and Ahlulbayt have shown us, and again that needs its own complete episode.
We'll have a lot of those.
Inshallah, that by nature, man likes to be leaned on, and woman by nature, forget about what has happened in the West right now and all the culture, the Western culture. By nature, woman likes to lean on something. They like to have some backbone, somebody that they can trust. That's whatever happens in the house. For example, in the middle of the night, if there's a sound by the door, she's hoping that her husband will get up and get the bat and go by the door to see what has happened. And then she says, okay, well, we do this 50-50. You get a bat, you go, then I'll come and we'll see what's going to happen.
I think this boils down again to like that, once again, that 50-50, the word's not equality, but
True.
Equity.
and like difference of roles, to be honest. Like, like maybe the husband shouldn't be as emotionally dependent on the wife, but the wife should be like comforting and caring when he comes home after like a long day of work and stuff like that, where like she can provide that service for him while he provides that shoulder to cry on when she's going through something.
Each one is providing something that the other one doesn't have it.
Ooh, that's beautiful.
They
Like the
should-
puzzle piece.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, the West is changing these puzzles.
Yeah, very much so.
Unfortunately. And unfortunately, our community is falling into this trap.
Very much so, because you mentioned like there's a natural disposition for a female to feel a certain way.
It's supposed to be
Vice
like that.
versa. It's supposed to be like that, but then you'll have the people that have experiences as a result of a fragmented society. Then they feel like, no, I'm a man and I like to be emotionally dependent, or I'm a woman and I don't like to depend on men.
No, it
So I
should
feel
be-
like, we get lost with what the society and our life experiences has done to us versus what is the natural disposition.
That's how Allah created us, for us to be in need of one another.
No.
Like, I need you, you need me. We all need different expertise, different personalities, different characteristics, different roles within the community that has to be fulfilled. Imagine if all of us, Allah created us within a mindset that we want to all become engineer. So what's going to happen with doctors? We have no more doctors. No some
balance.
If everybody wanted to become a doctors, well, what happened to engineers? We need engineers, we need architects, we need carpenters, we need all different fields within a community. Within a wife and husband relationship as marital, each has their own role, which needs to be explained by the religion, which it has, and being prescribed by the religion, which we have. If we apply it, we see how beautiful it becomes. We won't end up where we see, okay, it's not working anymore. No, it's going to work. Go ahead.
From then the emotional aspect, are we coming to the conclusion that we're saying that like one partner, because you said that it's not good for men to be emotionally dependent on
Don't
their
you
wives.
mean
Right?
that's what only
I didn't say that.
Oh, sorry. Maybe I misheard.
We're just posing rhetorical situations. I was just wondering, is it like
Is it wrong?
is it
Yeah.
perceived negatively in Islam?
It's not at all. I mean, this is the source of emotion for him.
تسكنوا إليها أنفس تسكنوا إليها.
Yeah, it's that peace. That's with emotions. That's prosperity. She provides it. He can't. I mean, Allah created man different that He created woman. Both of them together can establish this.
So in an aspect, he can be emotionally dependent, but just in certain aspects of
course,
emotion, yeah.
of course. The next will be wrong motives to have lack of love. Maybe in the parents' house, they didn't have that much attention and love. They think when we get married, my spouse is going to give me all the love that I did not have in my parents' house. Maybe the parents, if they are, for example, child of divorce, or parents that don't have a good relationship, so they don't have that love. So, okay, let me go and find someone who can give me that love.
Or they're looking for someone who, I guess, can't give them that love, but they're not looking for that love in that marriage. Like
Maybe.
they're not expecting that, I guess, bare minimum.
Maybe also that the wrong motives to have. Next will be people around them insist you have to get married. You have to get married. It's getting late.
Social pressure.
Social pressure.
Oh, we know that very well, right?
Alhamdulillah, I didn't go through that.
Yeah.
You're going through that.
I guess there's one way to avoid it.
Well, then get married sooner. I'm insisting on that.
Try harder, Ali. I'm just joking.
Next will be parents think that their kids have bad temper or uncontrollable. If they get married,
Oh my
But
God.
I don't know why.
That's almost like an extension of the sexual desire one. Like
Yeah.
you're letting your hormones get to you. Go solve it. I
true.
mean,
This is like putting like a Mento in like a Coke bottle. Like this is not.
and then closing
Yeah,
it.
like not fixing the problem.
Well, you have to close it fast,
Yeah.
and then outside, then open it and run away.
Run away.
Just don't be next to it. And some people who are with, they do this if they've been married before and they want to remarry again to forget their previous spouse. That okay, let me just go get married so I can
move on.
To move on, it's a wrong motives to have. Because again, let me learn. I should right away get married. I mean,
But not at the expense of another person.
of course. See, because why I say I should get married as soon as possible, because of Rasulullah's hadith. First, protecting either in one hadith half of your deen or 2/3 of your faith and iman and religion. Another is the importance of a married person who prays one rak'ah. It's rewarded more than 70 rak'ah prayed by a single person. So that's why the more I'm sorry for you. Inshallah, by the end of this episode, we can do something.
Inshallah. We need
Gonna
followers
drop-
for
gonna
that.
drop
So
my
please
Instagram handle.
share, like, subscribe, follow, comment, share with your.
Inshallah. So
But
that's
can I ask something?
Sure.
Why though? Why is that interconnected relationship? Why does it?
Can you
in this
clarify the
instance-
question?
Yeah, like for instance,
Why?
like why is getting married like in this instance like the rakah or the salah like of greater value, or this person seen in a higher status to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala?
Well, see that shaitan gets to us. One of the main key of shaitan getting to us is the sexual desires.
Okay.
It's one of the main keys that he uses. So with that in mind, when I pray and I don't have my needs fulfilled, which is God-given needs, is supposed to be fulfilled in a halal way, my mind will be completely different. Let me give you another example. All of us will try it. Try praying while you're hungry and trying like how you're thinking all sort of, and imagine if it's before iftar time, for example, Ramadan, and your mother is cooking food and you're praying, for example, Dhuhr and Asr a little bit late, for example. Like the food, the smell of the food and all of that completely distracts you.
Absolutely.
So protecting half of your religion from the hand of shaitan, because that's one of the biggest gates that he gets to you and I, is through that sexual desires.
Would you say it also incorporates like a interconnectedness? Because remember, like how we were talking, like with thaqalain and all that kind of stuff. Like this plan, this lifestyle, everything is interconnected, right?
No doubt.
So now I'm connecting my life to my spouse's life, and now my spouse's family with like my life, my family with my spouse's life,
No
the
doubt.
broader community in a sense.
Of course.
And then on top of that, if you're practicing, like you're fulfilling people's rights and helping them in that sense, would you say in that sense it helps
Oh,
too?
definitely. See, marital life, it's helping one another get closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which we will talk about it. That this is the one of the best motive to have is to complete one another, to give hand to one another, to get closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That should be one of the most important motives to have. So with that, I'm helping my spouse to get closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by everything that I do for her. Again, sexual need is one thing. Everything else that I have to provide. Hadith says that, for example, when a man gets his salary, for example, when he buys an grocery and he comes home, how much reward is there for him?
Or helping in the house.
Helping in the house that I made there is, yes. And a lot of people got in trouble for that. That you see, I mean, how much reward one gets by just being married.
It's a team effort.
It is. Yeah. And each one fills the gap of the other one. Not having this and completely to be separated, she does what she does and he does what he does, and all the issues that they're going through and all the sins. So we see Allah is trying through these rewarding,
incentivizing.
Just come on, get married, Ali Naqi, basically.
And I am the black sheep in this instance.
Yes.
I think it also has to do like it plays a part in thinking that like shaitan, with this game of trying to like lead us astray, right? Like he has teammates. Like he's not by himself. There are so many avenues, like whether it be like anything really, like I guess you can say music or like just like the common un-Islamic trends.
It comes while you're saying.
Yeah, in society. So he's playing with a team of like hundreds, thousands, millions of people, you could say even. True. And you're telling me like the and like you're telling me like the teammates that, or the one teammate, I said teammates, like you can get a teammate to help you out and you don't want to do that.
Of course.
You're making the game harder for yourself.
Of course, just being alone.
It's almost like by fulfilling our most basic physical needs,
true,
it elevates our spiritual capacity.
And then it brings the question of like, what if that's like an aspect of why it's there in the first place? Like, you know, when people ask like, oh, why do I have this desire? Like
it's there to help you grow.
Like why do I have it? Like, why do I need this? It's
because you need to overcome something. That's almost like that this desire has dressed itself in.
It's the same thing. Why do I need to eat food?
Yeah.
Why do I need to sleep? So all of these needs Allah has placed in us for us to survive and to just move forward. And marital life is for us to survive emotionally.
We may not see it like that, but it's definitely,
of course. So, I mean, this example comes to my mind. You've seen, for example, if a pond is solid and is not moving, slowly the water start getting dirty, and
algae starts growing.
All of this.
Haraka baraka.
So there is no movement into it.
Yes.
So when it moves and there is a flow, you see the water always to be clean. So this flow and this ups and downs comes from what? These problems. So these problems in our life makes us keep up and down, rather than, because I've seen people who are 45, 50, 55, 60 who've never married, because the time of marriage they didn't.
It was never perfect. It was
never perfect. Finish education, finish job, finish this, let me do this. Or they just keep delaying it. You can see them. There's always exceptions. They're not like the normal person who just got married and they go through a lot of difficulties. No doubt. I mean, again, as I mentioned, marital life has its own hundreds of difficulties that come with it. It's a package. But these problems keeps us moving up and down, up and down, up and down. Even our physical body.
It has problems.
Yeah. If we just sat and imagine that you hold your arm like this for 1 week or 2 weeks without moving it. After 2 weeks, it's going to be very difficult. Same thing for our spirituality, for our emotions, for our brain, our intellect. Everything needs that challenge and up and down.
As soon as you said challenge, I remembered a verse in the Quran where Allah says, إِنَّكَ كَادِحٌ إِلَىٰ رَبَّكَ كَدْحًا.
True.
Kadh, what does kadh mean?
Strive.
And then he says it again, kadhan. So he emphasizes that this
true.
life is a struggle. It's got to be up and down.
So that brings me to a good example. So see, again, going to why getting married. So we said one, putting hand in hand together, and covering each other's flaws and mistakes and protecting one another. Since we are striving, this comes very good with this verse, we are striving to get to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's like example of climbing a mountain. When you're climbing, for example, Mount Everest. I was in a bank about a week ago, and this guy, almost 75, 80-ish. He said he just came last month from climbing, what is this mountain?
Kilimanjaro.
Kilimanjaro.
Oh.
I was like, I did it. And this guy looked like...
How did you feel when he told you that?
I felt so bad. I felt so bad.
Like, man, I just walked for 1 hour in my neighborhood.
1 hour from my car to bank. And this guy was like, I've climbed this mountain and this mountain while we were standing. And this guy was almost 80 years old. So imagine you climb. So that's what he told me. He said, I told him what makes it easy, what makes it difficult. He said, having people with you is always the best thing to do. I have experienced it, inshallah. I don't know if you have experienced it. I know you have experienced in Arba'een. You know, that
Inshallah
walk, inshallah, from Najaf to Karbala. Be it alone, how difficult it would be. Like, you have no one.
Mentally
such a good
straining.
example.
Other than having someone next to you, you keep walking, talking, back and forth.
Just the
discussion.
energy, yeah.
So you get that. So climbing toward Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, being it alone or having someone next to you who has the same mindset. So that's what we need to look in our spouse. The one who wants also for this bond to get stronger, to get closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The benefits. Number one, you're not going to get bored. You have someone that you can talk to. Number two, if you fall, there is someone who can hold your hand. Or if there's someone you want to go higher, they can push you. If you fall and you get injured, well, they will be there to help you. So all of these are the benefits that when once get into marital life, this is supposed to be the why behind mine for them and them for me. That this is what we are trying to do. How can I give you a hand to get closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? And by me giving you a hand, I'm getting closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
You're serving.
Not that I step on you, I get closer
Yes.
to Allah, which typically people think, okay, the needy, the poor, the low, just step on their shoulder and get closer. No, by giving them hand, you might be pulled down a little bit because, you know, you have to go down a little bit and get them. But by doing that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is elevating you to get closer to Him.
Because when you pull them out, now you have a hand if you fall.
There you go.
Now, obviously, these benefits that you just mentioned, really dependent on the selection of the right partner for you. Because right before that, we talked about the niyyah and how important it is to have the right niyyah and to kind of go into it together with the same goal for the marriage. So just for Muslim Americans, the divorce rate, I think, is about like 41, 43%. I think Pew Research Center, like 2020 or 2021.
In America.
In America. So it's a pretty high. I mean, that's almost half. We're not the researchers. We don't know exactly what are the reasons for all of these. But I mean, some of these reasons are obvious, right? You're just not selecting the right spouse.
With the wrong intention and wrong motives.
Wrong intention, wrong motives, absolutely. Now, I also have like, you might have the right intentions, the right motives. But just from a mental health perspective, and I know that this might be a topic that we cover in the future, how much of these issues that are leading to these record divorce rates are also maybe not just a reflection on how poor the preparation was for the marriage or the selection, but also maybe our own personal problem-solving methods. Maybe we're not that good at resolving conflicts. Maybe we haven't reached an age of maturity enough where we can handle another person's emotions and our own at the same time. And we're encouraging people to get married young when they have, you know, their issues are really just starting and they're facing new issues all the time.
So it is a package that we have to keep in mind, that when we get married, it's just the beginning of our life. If we look at it same as any other initiative that we have gone through. For example, education, something that majority of our audience, and we all have gone through it. Those 4 years are going through it right now. Those 4 years or 5 years more in undergrad and then grad, it had its own challenges. It wasn't easy, but we kept planning for it. We asked advice, we asked consultation, we researched, we read that ma'rifah again. So ma'rifah, getting married is something. Ma'rifah and continuing that marriage life is something else that we need to have, which unfortunately, people typically don't have both of them.
It's a really separate phase.
It is.
It's completely separate because once you're not living together, it's like all the due diligence you did to lead up to this point was great, but now it's like a whole separate challenge. A whole separate challenge of. I actually have a question for you, Ali, as the kind of like the persona for the Youth. Not saying
yeah.
that I'm not
Yeah.
persona as well.
No, it's like-
Got a couple of white hairs.
Thank you so much. You completely excluded me completely.
Honestly, Sheikh, no, if I say you're youth, then then my seniority doesn't matter anymore. Alhamdulillah, may Allah give us health, inshallah,
Alhamdulillah, all of
and
us, inshallah.
good aging, inshallah.
Inshallah.
I don't know if you've heard this, but I certainly have. The way the world is right now, it would be irresponsible to have children today. It would be irresponsible to bring children into a world that is the way it is today, all around the world.
Right.
What is your perspective? What would you say to that?
I-
What would your response? Do you share that perspective first of all?
With children or just marriage in general?
With procreation, because I think
Procreation.
I mean I kind of skipped it there,
Yeah.
but eventually if we talk about the purposes of marriage, procreation would probably be in pretty high up on the list. Now, if we talk about
True.
procreation, some people say, okay, I'll get married. Also, there's some people that don't want to get married at all. But I think we've talked about some of the benefits that can kind of cover that. But when it comes to one of the main purposes of the institution of marriage, procreation, what is your perspective on should we have kids? Should we not have kids based off of the status of the world? Is the way of the world a reason not to have children?
Well, I would definitely say it's scary because there's so many risks that are posed, with bringing children. It's such a big responsibility. I feel like not every parenting is definitely something that the Ahlulbayt have given us the blueprint for. But whether we follow the blueprint and whether everybody is that parent or that good parent is a different discussion within itself. So you have to look at like whether or not you and your spouse can be those parents for those children that you're going to bring into this world, which not only is it your responsibility to raise them correctly, right? But it's this game of like, for instance, growing the flower while also making sure the lawnmower doesn't cut the flower. So it's like not only do you have the responsibility of making sure your children are raised the right way, but you have to avoid all the risks that can come and just taint all your hard work, all these years.
But see, if we see within the hadith of Rasulullah Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi,
Muhammad.
where he states, "Tanakahu tanasalu, fa'anni mubahin bikum al-umam." Get married and bring kids, because on the day of judgment, I will basically show off toward the rest of the creation that look at my nation. I have the largest nation of followers and ummah. So it is difficult, no doubt. I mean, I'm living through it as we speak, and I am not only living with my own 4 kids, all the kids in the community are my own kids that I have to look after their well-being and their religiosity. So I know the difficulties that the parents are going through. But it's something that we can't avoid it.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying we can't avoid it.
avoid the troubles that they're going to face.
Yeah, of
course,
So if I came to you, Sheikh Mustafa, I'm married, I want to have children, but I'm really concerned. There's too much fitna, there's too much war, there's health issues. Do I get this vaccine? Do I get that vaccine? The education system, we talked a whole lot about that before the episode. Society, there's just depression rates are through. They're not even going to get married. Divorce rates are 40%. They're not going to get married. How would you try to change my mind? And if you would, how?
See, I mean, in that case, why living in this world from the first place? I mean, just finish
Well,
it.
I can't control that, right? But I can control whether or not I have kids.
You can't control not getting married either. I was in another province, in a province in Canada. I talked with a group of youth, and some of the sisters we were discussing with the youth the responsibility of the sisters within the society that we are living in and the community. And based on Hadith and Quran, I was arguing that it's the responsibility is to bring kids to this world and be involved in their upbringing and to make sure that they see the best upbringing methods and looking after the affair of the husband. Well, this is a responsibility that we see the teachings of Islam has given. And we went back and forth. And they came to conclusion, in that case, we don't want to get married. No marriage, no kids.
Sheikh.
We want to proceed with our education and we want to become someone good to the community and beneficial.
Which is not a terribly awful perspective to have, right? They see their purpose elsewhere. But
It's not religion.
How did you come back?
This is not
to that?
religion. Don't tell me this is the teaching of religion. If I claim myself to be a religious person, that I want to follow the teachings of the religion, it's not only I'll take salah and fasting. This makes me a religious person. No. It's a whole, as Ali Naqi said earlier, it's a whole lifestyle. As a follower of Rasulullah, this is what is expected from me. When we came to this country, some of us migrated, some of us born here, but parents migrated. Did we pick and choose the laws in this country? No. Do you pick and choose the laws of driving? I'm gonna follow these laws and these signs. I'm not gonna follow these signs. For example, traffic light, I will stop. But stop sign, I don't like it. I'm gonna move. Well, what's gonna happen? Well, materialistically, you're gonna get ticketed.
Fairfax County Police is going to get you. You know they don't miss that.
Deduct some points.
I know, and slowly.
Take a class.
I did take a class.
You did?
I was,
wow.
I was a good driver.
Offensive driving course.
I was a good
Plus
driver.
5 points.
I know.
You needed those 5 points.
I was a good driver.
I took one too.
So that's the problem. So if we accept Islam, okay, this is the teachings of Islam. You don't want to accept it? Well, it's okay. It's up to you. Everybody's free. But when you accept Islam, you accept Islam as the whole package. And as many of the youth, they know, I always say the statement, learn from others' experience and don't become experience for others. Well, I have seen many of people who have gone through your path.
That's the standard.
So that shows he doesn't come to our Friday sessions.
That's his go-to right there.
He hasn't been recently. Correct that.
Yes.
Correct that.
So that is, I've seen the experience of others that they decided to go on that path of not getting married, not having children. And then I've seen the ending. And my job is to bring those and share it with other people so they won't make the same mistakes.
Yeah.
You want to make the same mistakes? It's okay, Habibi, make it.
So does Islam then view being in a marriage and not having children as a mistake? Or was that hadith more like saying, make Rasulullah proud?
Or
by procreating.
With that is are people who can't, like for instance, they can't have children, or they can't, and they're certain in that situation that they're in, like,
no,
which is almost kind of like impossible. You can get married; it's pretty simple, but like in those situations, do they lose that purpose?
No, they're not. I mean, having a children and raising a good children, that's one of the 3 things that when we die, Rasulullah Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that when a person dies, all of his a'mal in this dunya stops, except 3 things. One of them, if they have raised a good children, waladun salih. So they don't have that in their life.
So is it better to characterize it as a missed opportunity rather than a mistake?
See, in this world that we are living, find me someone who is not competing within their materialistic lifestyle. Everybody is. They want bigger house, better car, better salary, better job, everything. We are competing with one another in different kind of forms that we have.
It's not bad, but
it's okay. No, there's nothing wrong with it. But let's bring that. Allah says, "Sabiqu." In Quran, Allah has also competition, but toward fastabiqul khairat. That's also compete toward khair. So this khair that I want, and we're all believers of Day of Qiyamah. So the more I want in the Day of Qiyamah, or the more I have to do here, the more I have to go through these difficulties and challenges. So the more I go through, the more I will be rewarded. People typically forget there is a day of judgment, and there is heaven and hell. And well, for that to become easy, in here you have to go difficulties. One difficulty is marriage.
No.
One difficulty is having.
That's a really good one. That's
one difficulty.
So either way you'll be tested. It's just now or then.
So you pick your battle.
Yeah.
You pick your battle.
Choose your battles.
You choose your battle. And
choose
again,
your struggles.
If you have waladun salih, after 30, 40, 50, 70, 80, 90 years you die, that's your 401k saving. It's going to keep coming. It's keep coming. Isn't it worth the headache? It's worth the headache.
100%.
Is it referred to as like what, passive income in those finances?
That's a good one. That's a good one.
Very much needed. That's very much
That's a good one. Well, this is actually a perfect place to end it. But before we end it, I think we'd be remiss if we don't leave our audience with maybe some resources. Based on what we talked about today, guidance for getting married, guidance for spouse selection, guidance for preparing mentally, intellectually. What kind of guidance do you usually give? What kind of resources?
Go ahead and then I'll add.
Well,
Oh,
I want to
Ali's got
add
resources.
add something. I want to add something onto that he can answer, and maybe I can add a few things after. That resources, but also the standard. I feel like a lot of youth don't know that. I've met the threshold. I can get married now. They're entertaining this idea of, my career isn't set. I don't live on my own yet. This, that, maybe I don't see myself as emotionally mature enough yet, or like I just want to enjoy my single years for a little longer.
Yeah.
What's that standard where they meet the threshold?
I think the best source, inshallah, it will be this podcast. I mean, we'll continue these questions. I haven't seen a good package yet, and that can be a good initiative.
It's a good plug for future episodes. Good plug for the audience to stay tuning in. Right?
So definitely we will go through these ages, these thresholds. I haven't seen, again, one complete book or series of lectures about this specific topic. But I think if there is a will, there is a way. Like if one person, if an individual wants to get to know these information, they will contact here, there, they ask. We have done all of this for our materialistic lifestyle. We have done it. When we want to buy a house, when we want to buy a car, when we want to get education, we ask this person, ask married couples, ask different people, ask your resident alim, call, contact. So be active, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will open the platform.
Want it.
Yeah.
Ma'rifah, you have to seek the
Seek
knowledge
it.
and make that knowledge salient to you,
Yes.
almost like imprinting it onto your heart.
Again,
that
so
you can be
becoming a
guided by
doctor,
it.
becoming a nurse, becoming
You
an
gotta want to
engineer.
become it. Yeah.
They want, that wasn't easy. I mean, becoming an engineer or a doctor, that 4 years, 8 years, all of these years of really hard studying, well, it paid off. So you keep asking, you keep researching.
I feel like we're making it feel like it's going to be very, very difficult to get to the point where you can get married. So maybe it's not about the time or the amount of knowledge you consume to get ready. It's more about the quality of the information. And that
Have
brings us to a...
some firm information and jump.
Yeah.
And then
I like that because sometimes you have to have tawakkul.
True.
Sometimes you have
you
to...
always have to have tawakkul.
Always, 100%. That's a good one. For somebody whose last name is Al-Mutawakil, that's a very good piece of advice.
True.
We also get a common reference of, just study the marriage of Sayyidah Fatima and Imam Ali, or Rasul alayhi salatu wasalam and Sayyidah Khadija, for example. And then you have the common responses, well, I'm not them. And that's too high of a standard.
But we follow their footsteps. I mean, they have reached a peak, but they have left a legacy, and there is a path to reach that high.
And they're the role models. I mean,
They are,
if we're modeling the lifestyle and we're getting it from them, you're telling me you're not going to subscribe to the lifestyle from the people that you're getting it
And
from?
what is expected from us is not to become one of them. No, we have to follow them.
practical examples.
Practical, and just go step by step. Just make sure that you are on this path. I mean, Sarat, so can anybody say that they have reached the highest level? This is it. They have reached Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. No. Just being on the path of Allah, being on the path of Ahlulbayt and Quran, and following as much as I can. La yukallifu Allahu nafsan illa wus'aha. Allah doesn't put on our shoulder more than we can bear. So learning, applying, getting one step closer. Learning, applying, one step closer. And slowly, see, inshallah, I'm preparing a lecture for the birth of Fatima Zahra, salamullah alayha. They don't have to give us a lot of information. One line, one hadith, it's enough to shape my...
ما رأيت إلا جميلة.
That's it.
Beautiful.
It's one statement that gives the whole personality. Again, for example, when they said a believer eats what their family desire. Small hadith, but means what? That you will start sacrificing.
You apply it to
It
much
tells a
more than
lot. It
just
has
food.
multiple meanings. Yeah.
Multiple meanings. So again, that's the beauty of the teachings of Quran and Ahlulbayt. It doesn't need to be a lot. But one statement can completely shape what I'm about to do. And inshallah, we will cover in these episodes.
Inshallah.
And like no matter what, even if you prepare as much as you can, and you know like this person inside out, an element of risk will always exist.
Of course.
Like-
That's where tawakkul comes.
it's-
I'll do
it's
and I
unavoidable.
list. I leave the rest to the hand of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
اعملوا بما تعلموا.
Yes. من عمل بما يعلم علمه الله ما لا يعلم. The one who
أحسنتم.
acts upon what they know, Allah will teach them what they don't know. And we know a lot.
أحسنتم Sheikh
أحسن
Mustafa.
الله عليكم.
Ali Bahai?
Ali Bahai? In the Desi community, yes, but
No, I got it wrong. You got to fix it for me.
Ali Naqi.
Ali Naqi, but I wanted to,
Ali-
I said Sheikh Mustafa, and I thought like in my depths of my heart I wanted to say Sheikh Mustafa Akhi, and then I wanted to say Ali Naqi.
You can say
Bahai.
Ali John. You can say Ali John.
Ali John.
And then the
John,
Afghani
Ali
community, you say
John.
John.
And
Say
no
John or
Bahai,
Jana.
not like Bahai. Bahai is brother in
Urdu.
Urdu.
Yes.
Brothers and sisters, thank you so much for tuning in. We are back next Wednesday. We also have our brothers in the back. We got to give them a shout out for not just the beautiful setup and making us look good and sound good and keeping us on time, but also for producing this episode behind the scenes. And they will have us live Wednesdays. Confirmation Wednesdays. We're not going to confirm what day, but inshallah we'll have weekly episodes for you. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.